For more on this, I'm joined by Hisham al Omeisy. He's a political analyst based in Sana'a. Hisham, thank you very much for your time. A secessionist demonstration is expected in Aden today. Can you explain what this group wants and where they fit into the fight between the government and the Houthi rebels?
Well, the secessionists have been calling for self-determination since back in 2007. Unfortunately, the government back then and now keep marginalizing them. In fact, the peace talks that are happening tomorrow, they're not discussing the southern cause. They're not discussing the issues that are in Aden in the south. They're completely ignoring them, and that's not going to make the problem go away. It's just going to further exacerbate the situation there. It's going to make the calls for secession stronger, and it's going to create a lot of problems for the government down the road.
Yeah, so I suppose these anti-Uni protests in some ways feel like they're sitting in the darkness of perhaps what the government feels is a big issue. What do you think will come out of these peace talks tomorrow in terms of a ceasefire holding and actual peace on the ground?
Well, to begin with, the ceasefire not exactly holding. There have been multiple breaches across several fronts in Yemen. But the fact is, the ceasefire was just a stepping stone towards the peace talks. Now, the peace talks that are starting tomorrow in Kuwait, their focus is on 5 points: the withdrawal of the militias and the armed groups from cities, the handover of heavy arms to the state, the reinstatement of government institutes, the exchange of prisoners. Unfortunately, there's a lot of skepticism. There's very little hope that all the 5 points will be accomplished, because to begin with, not all the parties were invited to the peace talks. The southern movement that is protesting today in Aden, they are not invited to the table. The people like the resistance in Taiz, they were not invited to the table. Resistance in Sana'a were not invited to the table. So what you will have tomorrow is basically a meeting between the usual suspects, a first meeting in one of many. Hopefully, it will be the first step. It won't be the last. It won't resolve all the problems, but it will be the first step.
Right. And Obama has a trip coming up later this week to Saudi. What role does this play in all of this?
Well, we're hoping that Obama is going to put a lot of pressure on the GCC countries to end the war and to call back for a political solution. We've seen over the past year that a military solution was not possible, that it only exacerbated the situation in Yemen. It made the humanitarian situation much worse. 82% of the Yemen population now needs aid. So in effect, the war made the situation much worse. Hopefully, Obama is going to exert a lot of pressure on the GCC countries to go back to the negotiations table for a political solution rather than a military one.
Yeah, okay, very complicated situation. Thank you, Hisham. Hisham al Omeisy, a political analyst based in Sana'a.